Welcome to FreeShow Friday on March 28, 2025. I am Garry B. Jr. I'm excited to be with you today. And we're going to make this happen. We're going to have some fun. We're going to learn some new stuff, hopefully, and answer a lot of questions. But I'm excited because today we're doing this a little bit different. I actually have everything running through FreeShow in terms of the entire layout. I'm not customizing it using... I used to use my YOLO box to format, but this is literally just my FreeShow layout that is a part of the camera and slides templates that are available on my website. So I'm using that, and I've customized it to where I can share my screen. I didn't customize it, but that's an option in FreeShow. So I'm going to use the FreeShow screen share today, and we're going to see how this works. So it's going to be fun. So first things first, hopefully you got to see some of the videos from this past week. And the idea with this week has been focused on streamlining and coming up with smart solutions to simplify our process that we may have for our volunteers. And so as a media leader, your role is to establish, set up, put things in place, and then to consider who's going to be using those things and making it easy as possible for them to use. And so we started out this week talking about something that I'm gonna call it a little known fact, but for me it was something I overlooked quite a bit, and that is categories in FreeShow. And so you can organize your categories in FreeShow however you want to. I suggested a possibility of not advertising, but showing them as like based by meetings. You can do it based on all kinds of different reasons. For those who are joining us, tell me in the chat, what way do you currently, if at all, organize and or use your categories? And so I know for me right now, if I go to my show right now, you'll see that I've got my show going here, but I'm sharing my screen with you. So if I pull this up, let's see here, pull this up. You can see the different categories I have under shows. You can make a new category. And so for me, for example, I could possibly do one that's just called FreeShow Friday, right? And this is a meeting that I have weekly. So under shows, then I would take it out of presentations, which is where they are right now. So I've got a FreeShow Friday countdown. I'll put that in there. And then I've got today's variable slides. So I'll put that under there. And so that's a way that you can organize your categories so that whenever I'm ready to go back into anything for FreeShow Friday, I've got it there. I can add new shows to this by simply clicking New Show. But it just helps you streamline your process. I've got men's meetings in here was an example. I didn't make any because that was just more of a sample for you all to consider. Pastor's notes. This is a good way to organize those pastor's notes. And you might have a number of different pastors that you're working with. So you might say, you know what, I'm going to put not just one category called pastor's notes. I'm going to put by the name of the pastor that's going to be giving you those notes. So you got a regular rotation of different leaders that share and teach. Maybe they do a certain week, month to month. You can make a certain category just for them and put all the notes in there so you can easily access them and store them. Right? In your media, you would do folders, so it wouldn't necessarily be an option there. Under audio, same way you would do folders as well. Those are all tied to your actual computer or your hard drives connected to your computer. Under overlays, though, same idea. You can make categories in there that are tied to certain meetings, certain events, and just special use cases. So that's something to consider when it comes to how you use your categories. I encourage you to make the most of it, to make it simple for you, make it simpler for your volunteers, where if anybody were to jump into using FreeShow for you that particular Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday meeting, whatever it is, they're filling in for you, they won't have any problem navigating based on the way you've got it organized with your categories. So it's a really cool way to organize, and it even goes over to your templates. You can organize and categorize your templates with those categories as well. And this is helpful because you might say, okay, I'm gonna make a category called lower thirds. And so you might say, I'm gonna make a new category, and all your lower thirds templates go there. Now this is a topical one, right? So, and I actually already have one there, which is fine. So let me remove that. Let's do delete. And I've got one here. And so all of my scriptures that have the lower third set up, I would drag those into there. You might call it scripture lower thirds if you want to. You might call it song lower thirds if you want to. All those different ways are available. So this one, I'm going to call this one scripture lower thirds because these are all scriptures from my scriptures tab. And then if I go here, I got the two scriptures lower thirds. These are available on my website as well, the two scripture lower thirds. And they're quite colorful. I got a black and white one or black and gray one, but I also have the red and I think the blue as well, which is kind of cool. And you can customize those colors. When you get a template, you can make the color whatever you want to. Just save it with your own custom colors based on your ministry's branding and color themes and so forth and so on. And so if I go back into scriptures, let's see here if I've got anything else. This one's an upper third, so I'm gonna put that in there too. Even though I only have a few of those, not very many. And then the rest of these, those are not lower thirds. So I'm gonna name this lower thirds category. Lower third script. If I can spell it right now, let's see. I'm looking over my microphone. Alright. And then I can do the same thing, new category. Lower thirds. Songs. Right? And then I can go into my songs and I can look down here and see if I've got any lower thirds for my lyrics or songs. So I'm gonna drag this one in. Let's make this a little bit wider so we can see that whole title. I got this one, and the reason why the songs are special or different is because the songs don't have, for me, when I make my templates, my song lower third templates don't have that extra box for your scripture reference, right? That's important for me when it comes to using lower thirds or using scriptures, I should say, in FreeShow. I like to give the reference for those. And so I'm just dragging all these. I got a lot of lower thirds for my songs in here, all different kinds. And kind of like that, but I never organized them this way. So this is a good tip for you guys going into this Sunday, going into this weekend, I should say, for your meetings regularly. This would be something to consider. Put this upper thirds one for songs in there as well. And it just simplifies your process. So if somebody's looking for a lower third songs template, you can just go to it and you'll find a lower third songs template really easily, right? So put in the chat ways that you plan to organize using categories for your show. All right. Let's go back. So we talked about categories. Let's talk about variables, right? So you can use variables for your lower thirds, which we talked about. So using variables for your lower thirds is a cool way to manage names, a cool way to manage titles. It is an efficient way for you and your volunteers to go in at the beginning of service, go to your functions, and then go to your variables, and then you would just type in who the speaker is for the day right there, and it automatically is uploaded on those lower third variables if you want to, right? So for me, I would say one of the best ways to do it is to probably use it as a part of overlays, right? So if you're going to do like the title copy for who's today, you would go into your overlays. Let's go into that real quick. So all right, so looking at how to get into your overlays lower third. So we go into overlays, and I've got this one called Sunday lower third, and it says guest LT2. So I can right click on this, and I'm going to change it. It says variable lower third. That one is no longer even there. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to right click and add a new. So I go to dynamic values, and now I'm going to variable speaker name. And you'll see there the speaker name pops in. If I go back into my show, and I click this as an overlay, it shows up and it pops up the speaker's name. This particular one has a 10-second timer, so after 10 seconds, it's going to automatically just disappear, right? The duration on it is set, and there it goes. It's gone, right? And so all I would do is, as a volunteer, I would just go in and go to the speaker name, turn that on, and now I can always go into the overlays and pop up the lower third guest without having to worry about, do I have to type in a new name or anything like that. Sorry about that. Thanks, Christopher. There's music playing. That is crazy. I forget to there you go. I forget to mute the music playing and thinking that it stopped, but it did not. So forgive me, you guys, for those who were hearing the music and couldn't hear me. But we've been talking about categories, variables, and let me recap just real quick because I'm sure that music was pretty loud. Going back to the categories, and also just to welcome, what I was saying was that this is all set up using FreeShow. So this layout that you see on the screen, that's all using FreeShow. Instead of using my YOLO box, I'm using my YOLO box to stream, but I'm not using it to set up my layouts. And so I got a lot more flexibility with FreeShow organizing this entire FreeShow Friday. And so if you saw any of the videos this week, one of them was about categories and organizing your categories by meetings. And what I did was I showed how, for me, if I go to my shows, there's an option that's called categories. And when you're looking at your shows, the categories are kind of like folders, right? They're just a way for you to organize your content. And what I did was I actually made one called FreeShow Friday. And I put in a couple of different slides that I actually, or shows that I use, that are actually a part of my FreeShow Friday project template, right? But then we went over to, let's see here, to our templates, and we started organizing the lower thirds by categories as well. And we just made a lower thirds category, and then I just started dragging in all of them from my scriptures. So now my scriptures is just straight scriptures with no lower thirds involved. But if I want to go to scriptures that have lower thirds, I would just click on the category called lower third scriptures, which is really handy and helpful when we're using FreeShow, and as we are having volunteers use FreeShow, right? So if you are bringing in people to help serve and support, the better you can organize this, the easier it'll be for them in the long run, right? And so, and then if you looked at anything else, any other videos, I did a secret power of variables in FreeShow video. And in that video, we talked about how you can use variables to fill in your lower thirds easily, right? And so instead of you having to go into your overlays and edit the overlay to show a certain name, you can just go to your functions and you can have multiple different functions. I've got one that's a chat scroll here, and then we got one that's just called speaker name, right? And so my variables, I would put in the speaker for that particular week, that particular service, that particular meeting, right? Whoever's teaching that day, I would put that there. And then when I put that there, I can go to my overlays, I can right click and I can edit. And what I did was I added a dynamic value, which was right clicking in the text and select dynamic values. And then I just scroll down to the bottom where my two variable options are there. And I just put in the one that says speaker name. All right. And so now if I were to click on speaker name and show that, you'll see it pop up over the top and it shows my speaker name. And I wasn't even showing my screen. So let me show you guys. Like I said, this is different because I'm using FreeShow for everything. So I got to go and navigate this in a different flow. So what I was showing was I went into my overlays and then I right clicked and clicked edit. I'm gonna delete this out. And if you right click on your text boxes, right? So any text box that you have from your edit page, you can actually go to dynamic values and you'll scroll all the way down to the bottom. You'll see all your different variables. The one I've created is called the speaker name, right? So it's a variable speaker name. And when you click that, it automatically pops up over your show. So if I click it now, it's gonna pop up because I'm still using FreeShow to show this. You'll see it show up there in the corner. Now, this particular variable has a 10-second duration on it. So it's gonna go away on its own. As a volunteer, that's gonna be helpful as well. So you don't have to remember to turn it on and turn it off. You can just remember to activate it and then it'll automatically disappear on its own, which is really helpful, all right? And so if we go to the other discussion of using variables / dynamic values to add the date to your welcome slides, you can add the date to your entire show if you want to, right? So you can add, different variables. So on the opening slide here, it's got the date there, right? And so if you were to edit that particular slide, what you'll find is, let me go back to my show so you guys can see me editing. What you'll find is that if I go to the edit page here on this, it's not the date, it's actually dynamic values with a slash in between each of them to show the month, the day, and the year, right? And so all I did was I simply right-clicked in the text box yet again, and I hovered over dynamic values, and then instead of going down to the bottom for the variables, you just stay at the top and you'll see the options to put the date, the month, and the year. You also have hours, minutes, and seconds. And we could even do one that's called show name, right? And so for me, this is really cool because you can actually customize this to be a part of your process and it's built in, and you can make that be up here, for example. So you might say, instead of this being Free Show Friday, I can make this say dynamic value. Let me delete Free Show Friday, and I'm gonna go dynamic value, and then I'm gonna go to show name, all right? And so if we were to look at that as a show name, what it would actually show is variable slides, right? And that's what I called it. And so that process helps you streamline it. What I would end up doing is I would probably start naming my shows a little bit better to say, okay, this is called Free Show Friday variables, or using variables in your slides or something along those lines, but it automatically defaults and puts that information in there. You could do the same thing for your subcategories here, like for me for the next slide and things like that. All right. We got an NTL. Hello from Finland. Big thanks for the awesome Free Show videos you're putting out. Thank you so much, NTL. Finland, what part of Finland are you from? Believe it or not, I've actually been to Finland. I think I've probably shared that before, but I'm excited about it because when I went, we flew into Helsinki, and then we flew north and we went to Lapland, I believe is how I don't know how to pronounce it. So Lapland. And so it was quite a journey, and we got to see Aurora Borealis, so the northern lights, and I was able to take photos and shoot some videos of it. It was really, really cool. I see Christopher there. So you guys are all in the same neighborhood, right? So Christopher, are you in Finland as well, or are you in the Netherlands? Let me know in the chat. And so going back to this whole idea, so if we go and I right click on this to edit this particular slide again, instead of it being show name, there's a lot of other options for these dynamic values. And so if we go over here, we can do show the name and the next, right? So if we click that, it actually represents, let's see here, it represents the next show, right? And so I don't have any shows after this. And let's go here so you can see it. I don't have any shows set up after my particular, oh, yeah, that's right, Christopher, Norway. I'm sorry, that's right. So Norway. So actually, when we went up north to Finland, we got to visit Norway because they're right next to each other up north at least. And so that was really cool to kind of connect and go. We went to just a shopping mall for like 3 hours, and then we came right back over into Finland. So cool. So you can edit that. So I went to edit, and I made this particular first slide is what we've been working on. The show name next, right? So the next show name, don't have anything there. If I were to right click in here and go to dynamic values, you can do your slides, layouts, your notes, slide numbers, right? So if you have, it's important for you to have that particular slide number in the show, you can do that. In the same way with slide notes, which is really cool. And then video duration and time and all that kind of stuff, you can put that in there for those that are watching. This is a part of your main show, right? So some of that stuff I would say is a good part to have in your stage display, but for some reason you might need to have that as a part of your main show. And then we've also got the metadata here where you can put in the CCLI information, the author and artist, which is helpful if you're giving those rights to those artists and song creators that have with the worship songs you're using. You can put that information in there as well, which is really cool. All right. And so I'm going to put this dynamic value. Let's make this one be just the show. And I'll keep that in there for now. All right. And so we talked about variables for our lower thirds. We talked about variables for dynamic values. And let's look at adding names. Let's see here. So I added this idea, and I threw this out there because I want to hear from you all. What would be another cool way to use variables? Like you can use it. I think about it as a way to add in people's names for like a birthday list or something like that. So you might get each week, you might get an email, or people might fill out a form at your ministry, or maybe there's just a note that just gets passed to you that these are the people whose birthdays are today. You might make a birthday slide, a generic birthday slide, but then you make this variable called birthdays, right? So you would go into your functions and you would make a new variable and call it birthdays. And in there, you would just type out everybody's birthday. So Gary's birthday, we got Christopher's birthday, 2 F's, and T, 2 T's. All right. And so we got the birthdays there, right? But we want to make a birthday slide. So I would go into, I keep forgetting to change it over so you guys can see what I'm doing. Let me see here. Let's go to here. All right. So what I did is I went down here. I didn't right click. I clicked on text and I made a birthday variable. So I added in everybody's name here. And so we got all these folks who are having a birthday today. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make us a birthday slide. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to right click on the edit option. And I'm just going to duplicate this slide. And instead of it saying upcoming interview, I'm going to make this one say March birthdays. Right. And then in here, I would right click, go to dynamic values, scroll down, and variable birthdays. All right. And then I will go back to the show. And so now we got our March birthdays and they just show up there automatically. And all the volunteer had to do was go into FreeShow and just type out the people's birthdays for the day. Right. And then it automatically will fill in on that birthday slideshow slide that you automatically have already created, and you just add that into your show, right? So what are some other unique ways that you can use variables for your particular ministry meetings and things like that? So 100 kilometers north from Helsinki, so not quite Lapland, that's like 800 kilometers away. Oh, goodness. Wow. Okay. So you're kind of right in the middle. I say right in the middle. You're just north, right? Not necessarily in the middle, not quite middle north, Auntie. That makes sense. That makes sense. Saw some auroras a few days ago. Nice. From there, you didn't have to go further north. You were good enough. You were far enough north to be able to see it from just 100 kilometers from Helsinki, huh? That is awesome. Man, you guys got it made over there. That's pretty sweet. It was kind of scary for me. I must admit, I was in awe of seeing it. It was very much sobering in terms of just seeing it and seeing the glory of God and seeing how beautiful it was to see these moving. They weren't clouds, but the moving lights, right, right above me, which was crazy. So that was the first for me, and it was really cool. It was really cool. All right, let's see here. So this changed. I don't know why that changed, but let me go back into my media and add in a backdrop for this real quick. So I want that to have that. All right. So we talked about variables for birthdays. Now, I'm almost done, unless you guys have questions. So we got some experts on the line, so I don't know that there's going to be a lot of questions today. But if you could ask the FreeShow team. So I'm planning a big interview next week with some folks from FreeShow. Christopher's one of those guys that's going to be a part of this interview, and then a gentleman named Michael Bird. He's going to be a part of it. He's on the board. He's a partner for the FreeShow and Church Apps organization, and so I'm going to talk with them to find out questions that I've always wanted to ask. But my question to you all is, what questions would you want to ask them regarding FreeShow, regarding the future of FreeShow and things like that? So I'm curious what your thoughts are. I'm curious what it is that you would want to know, because I know for me, I'm always surprised at how they can make FreeShow free. So I'm going to ask them, will it always be free? That's a big deal to me, is will FreeShow always be free? Because it seems too good to be true that this is working this way. And or if it's going to be, if they're going to charge for it, are they going to be like a monthly thing, or would it be a one-time thing? Because that's another deal, right? So I think ProPresenter used to be a one-time charge, maybe there was an annual fee or something like that for some things. But I know, for example, Adobe Premiere, that whole Adobe Creative Suite used to be just a one-time charge. You would get the disc, right? And then they shifted to doing that monthly thing, right? I'm trying to think of other programs that I've used that have gone for that. There was another screen capture program when I was a trainer we would use called Camtasia. It was a one-time charge. You buy it, and then you have it forever. But they started switching to a monthly process. So a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, a lot of software are switching to that. And my hope and my prayer is that FreeShow doesn't, but I'm curious. I want to ask the guys that know. We got She Loves joining us. My question is, I have an iPhone. How can I use it as a camera on FreeShow? I tried to plug it in, but it's not coming up. Interesting. So She Loves, do you have so you got an iPhone, do you have an Apple computer, or do you have a Windows computer, would be my next question, because that's a very, very good question to ask. And it would depend on that. For me, at least, when it comes to using my iPhone, I can go into my media and I can go up to cameras, and you'll get to see all the different cameras I've got here. So I've got my FaceTime camera, which is on my laptop right here. I've got my iPhone camera, which is just propped up next to me, so you can see what I'm looking at. I'm trying to unplug it, so it looks kind of crazy. But this is what it looks like here. So you can see down at the bottom, you can see my screen there, and then you can see my other screen here showing the YouTube stuff in the chat, and then you can see my YOLO box over here and my camera up there. And so this is designed with a MacBook that it allows me to do it, because I've actually paired my phone to my laptop, right? And so she says She Loves says I'm using a Windows computer, but I have an older iMac. So on a Windows computer, I don't know if you can pair it the same way that I did. But on an Apple computer, as long as you got the same login information, right? So if it's the same user account, it's pretty seamless, and you make it to where the computer trusts the phone and the phone trusts the computer, and they're just kind of intertwined. And I can use my iPhone as my webcam for Zoom if I wanted to, just because of that integration that they have. If you are using a Windows computer, the way that I would recommend using it would be to get a program called NDI. I think it's called NDI HX camera. Let me see here. Let me make sure. Let's see here. Okay, it's called, yep, NDI HX camera. And so if I open that up, let's see here. They've got a nice little update to it, so it looks a little different than I'm used to. But once you do that, then you would go to your screens option, and then you would select the option on the far right called NDI. And so you'll see that this little icon here is showing, it's loading my camera. Let me see if I need to turn, if I need to press. No, I don't need to press. Okay, so it's streaming, but it'll populate your camera, and then you will be able to select it here, and it's running over NDI. So it's running over the network. And let's see if I can, I'm gonna make a new slide. Let's pull it up over here, variable slides. Let's just make a new one. All right. And so I can click it there. That's good. All right, so now you can see it in the background. And if I clear out my overlays and my slide, you can see this is the NDI HX camera, right? And so my hand might be a little shaky, but it's the same thing that you was able to see with my when I had the camera, the iPhone with the MacBook integration. This is that same thing. Okay, so good question, very good question. And let's turn that off. Let's go back here. I'm trying to get back to another slide. Let me see if it'll go to it. Oh, I turned off everything. Hold on just a sec, you guys. All right, there we go. And so when I cleared out everything, it cleared out. So I just needed to reset it. Like I said, I'm doing something new. I'm using FreeShow for everything. So I got to remember to do that. All right, so oh, and then Christopher says there's also a free app called Droid Cam that works with Windows. And I'm guessing that only works with Android. Is that right, Christopher? So that's an Android app. And the NDI HX camera, I believe, I can't remember if that's a paid app on iPhone and free on Android, or if it's paid on Android and free on iPhone. I can't remember because I downloaded it so long ago. But yes, that's excellent. Very good question. What other questions do you guys have for me, and or what questions would you have for my interview next week? I want to hear from you in terms of making sure I get some audience feedback to make it seem like you guys are going to be there. It's going to be recorded, and I'm going to air it probably the following week. But so he says no iPhone and Android. Oh, wow. So Droid Cam works on iPhone and Android. Sweet. That's very cool. I've never used it. So that's something that, so Christopher, when they do that, would it just be under the cameras list? Now I'm curious. I'm going to see if I can download that. Droid Cam. I'm going to go to my app store real quick. The problem I have with my app store is I sometimes forget my password. So let's do a search. Droid Cam. All right. And so I got Droid Cam webcam. Yep, it's completely free. I got to double click that. Okay, so I'm downloading it. I want to see what it does because will I be able to pull it up under cameras is my question, or would I have to do it a different way? All right, so I'm loading up the webcam deal. Welcome to Droid Cam. Droid Cam turns your phone into a camera for your computer. Okay, and let me see if I can show you guys what I'm seeing here. Hold on just a sec. All right, let me start off. I want to disconnect continuity camera. Okay, let's see. And so screens. Let's see if you guys can see this. All right. So if I get rid of that. All right, so you guys can see what I'm seeing. So it says Joycam would like to access your camera. So I would say allow. Would like to access the microphone. Makes sense. I would allow. And it says allow Joycam to track your activity across other companies, apps, and websites. I'm going to say not to. And let's go back to Joycam. To find devices on local networks. Allow. And then I hit continue. Okay. To use your phone as a webcam, visit Joycam app on your computer. Oh, to download and install the Joycam client, which you can use to connect to this app. Interesting. So OBS camera, using OBS, then go to Joycam app/OBS on your computer to get the Joycam OBS plugin. So that is really sweet. So it allows you to use it. So it says use your iPhone, use your phone as a cam. And so you're saying, Christopher, you're not sure if it works on a Mac. Let's see here. So you need to install a program on the computer, but then it will show up as a camera. Not sure about the Mac OS, but they have an OBS plugin as well. I see that. Interesting. Now I want to see if it'll let me do it from, let's see here, Joycam app. Let me see if I can find it real quick. They got the Windows client. They got a Linux client. Yep. And so I would have to get the OBS plugin for it to work for me. But on a Windows computer, you can make it work. So she loves that. Would be a really cool way to get your integration for that pretty seamlessly. So yeah, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. I like that. Thanks for sharing that, Christopher. All right, let's see. Let me come back in and there we go. So very good questions. All right, Christopher, have a good one, my man. Talk to you later. Any other thoughts or questions about categories or variables before we head out? Because I'm right behind Christopher. If nobody has any more questions, make sure to check out those videos if you haven't already. They kind of give you a more in-depth walkthrough. And then it gives you time to kind of process. And if you have other people on your team, you can process with them ways that you all can streamline. Because my goal in this upcoming season is figuring out ways that we can use FreeShow to streamline. Like for me, for example, using it on this FreeShow Friday live stream, it was new for me in this context because what I used to do is I would just send this feed to YOLOBox, but then I would have my camera connected to YOLOBox to get the feed as well. And so I would put those two together in YOLOBox. I would have a camera feed and then I would have my computer screen actually sharing. But now I'm doing everything through FreeShow. So what you're seeing on the screen, this box is in FreeShow. Those boxes are in FreeShow. And all I'm doing is outputting it to my YOLOBox as a second monitor. And I'm just sharing and recording that monitor with you guys. And so that is a really cool way. You could do the same thing with a ATEM switcher. You could do the same thing to OBS. If you don't have any hardware, you can do all this through OBS. And so it's a really efficient way to actually manage a show and produce a show. And everything's in control. Now, it was a little clunky for me today because, like I said, it was my first time, so I forgot to mute the music. I didn't even think about that because I'm going to have to figure out a way to make that stop playing automatically once the intro show is over. That would be really cool. And then also setting it up was really fun because I can put in my name at the bottom. And somebody challenged me with this. I think last week they were saying, can I put in the categories to show what we're talking about? So what I was doing was I can go here and you can see I kept the title at the top up here where you can see the name. That's actually over the top on this. And then I actually kept the details of what's going on down here at the bottom. And that's literally over the top of my screen sharing as well. And then I kept my little picture-in-picture thing down there, which is not necessary because my picture is all up here on all these slides. But it was a really cool way to integrate, which I didn't even think about, to use FreeShow to share FreeShow, because that was my challenge. Is I didn't think I was going to be able to share my screen and show you all anything. But after thinking it through, all I had to do was go to my screens and just share, or actually I went to Windows and I actually shared, yeah, this is Windows. So I went to the window, and what I did is I dragged that on to the slide, and that's where you'll see this little icon here, this little computer icon showing that I'm sharing a window, and that one is tied to this particular part of that particular slide, along with this particular template. So that little icon represents a template. And so what I did is I made a template that was a presentation template, and it looks like this. So it's got the slide title at the top left, and then it's got the scroll bar at the bottom, and then it's got the little picture in picture, and that's over the top, as you can see here, of that particular window being shared. And then I'll go back here, and it goes back to the default template for this whole show. Okay, I had to drag this one on because I want this particular page or slide to be unique. And so it's fun to navigate FreeShow in that way and get comfortable using it in different settings, I guess you can call it. But yeah, so this was a really fun way to do it. Hopefully you guys learned something today, got some questions answered. Can't wait to connect with you next week when we'll talk more about fun things about FreeShow. And let me know, comment on this video, what ways can you use categories to streamline, and what ways can you use variables to streamline for your volunteers, for your ministry meetings, and so forth and so on. All right, so until next time, I'm Gary B, and I look forward to talking with you then.